And here to help me get through a fairly extensive list of lefties losing it is Kosha Gator in Melbourne. Thank you for joining me, Kosha. Let's start with a woman who should be, well, she's old enough to know better, Whoopi Goldberg. She's doubled down on her Holocaust slur in an interview with the Sunday Times in the UK, despite the fact that only a few months ago she apologised for these sort of comments. Remember, Whoopi was momentarily suspended from The View for saying that the Holocaust was not about race, but now she says about her comments, it doesn't change the fact that you could not tell a Jew on a street. You could find me, you couldn't find them. These are direct quotes, by the way. I'm not saying this, Whoopi is. That was the point I was making. So are you surprised that she's digging herself a bigger hole rather than just acknowledging that perhaps she got it wrong and she was a little bit historically illiterate?
You know, I think old habits die hard, Rita, and this just shows where when she did that last time, I think she was suspended for 2 weeks after there was a lot of backlash, and then she issued this apology where she said she's learned and she sort of got a historical education about it and she'll never make that mistake again. But here we are. So am I surprised? Like maybe on the surface, yes, but I would say maybe no, because obviously she didn't really learn or have an open mind to the history. And then I think the other aspect too is The View just brokers in being provocateurs. We've seen all sorts of things. She said this before. Sunny Hostin called Republican women cockroaches. Joy Behar got in trouble for wearing blackface and then defending it. So, you know, they do this, and maybe that's part of the formula where they try to push the limits and they push it sometimes too far. And if there are no consequences, you know, you might see those types of comments popping up again and again.
Well, you know, they are actually the cancel mob themselves. So it's not surprising they don't get cancelled, because they're the ones trying to get everybody else cancelled, often for some fairly mainstream opinions. But The View is just an awful, awful program, and I would suggest hosted by awful, awful people. But I'm going to have Rabbi Shmuley on tomorrow to discuss this, and I think he's got some very, very pointed opinions on this issue. So I look forward to speaking with him. But I did like this tweet about the whole affair, basically saying, yes, Whoopi is an idiot, posted along with this image, just countering her claims. Now let's go to France. Earlier in the show, I played some footage from chaotic protests in Paris where there has been widespread destruction. This was all triggered by a deadly attack against Kurdish community by a man who frankly should have been in jail. Just a year earlier, had been charged with racist violence over an attack with a sword, and yet he was walking the streets. But these violent protests will achieve nothing other than show that the country has some very deep-seated issues around race and assimilation, as well as their justice system. Let's have a look. Now, some of the protesters even smashed up the road to use as debris to throw at police, and the scenes of destruction are frankly dystopian. And we've got plenty of other footage. We're not going to play it all, but motorists being attacked trying to get out of the riots. Kosha, what do you make of this, and what can Macron do to try to restore some sort of order?
You know, it comes back to what we were talking about before with consequences. And the more and more society creeps into this paradigm where certain alleged grievances are unfalsifiable, whether it's against race or a particular creed, Black Lives Matter, Kurds in this case, whatever it is. And once you wear that mantle, it's almost like anything goes in defense of that. And as long as society does nothing, or the leadership, Macron or otherwise, do nothing to have consequences for people that are ultimately vandalizing and looting and, you know, even committing other more serious crimes in the name of a so-called social justice, this is just only going to continue. And what you need is really strong prosecution under the full extent of the law of this type of behavior, and then and only then I think will you see it curbing. Otherwise, I think we're just going to see more and more of this accelerating in the years to come, unfortunately.